few minutes, inshallah. So, the two types of black magic is the khayili, imaginative. It's in your imagination. It's not real. You'll think it's real. And hakiki is the reality. What's the examples is the time of Musa alayhi salam, when the thousands of magicians contested Musa alayhi salam. Our magic is powerful, more powerful than your magic, because Fir'aun thought what Musa alayhi salam was doing, he was a sahir, he was a magician. So they gathered to compete, and then they all threw their strings and ropes and staff, and they became snakes. But the Quran says, يُخَيَّلُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ سِحْرِهِمْ أَنَّا تَسْعَى. Okay, it was in their imagination as though they were running. They weren't really running. The sihr was on the people. سَحَرُ أَعْيُنَ النَّاسِ, the Quran says. So it wasn't real magic. When Musa alayhi salam, obviously he was a prophet, he had a miracle from Allah, he threw his staff, it turned into a really big serpent, and he ate everything up. And the magicians fell in sajda because they knew what he has is greater than what we have. They knew they were magicians, but it wasn't hakiki. What's hakiki sihr then? What actually happens, what's mentioned in the Quran, the verse I read, وَاتَّبَعْ مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ, halfway through that verse, فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. They should learn from them things which separate husband and wife. Yeah? So here I explain a bit as well, because obviously everybody has marriage issues sometime in their marriage, little or large, yeah? Marriage is not a bed of roses. You will always have the argument, a bit of separation, and these things happens to non-Muslims. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes there can be ayn, what I mentioned, nazar, which can cause these things because you put your pictures up, your holiday pictures, your baby pictures, the husband and wife start arguing over petty things. Or someone takes it a step further and think, why did he marry her? I wanted to marry her. He can't take it. He's burning with rage. Like the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salam were burning with rage. Go to Yusuf, kill him. And he wants to separate, or she wants to separate husband and wife, then they do black magic. That's the hakiki one. It's actually done on them to separate. But it's not just marriage. So sometimes, I repeat, sometimes marriage can be affected by black magic. What else can black magic affect? Fertility issues, I mentioned that. Blocks in fertility. Common repeated miscarriages. 2, 3, 4, maybe one we can say is medical stress, tension. But when you've got 2, 3, 4 miscarriages, especially when they're unexplained by the doctors. So for the tick box, they will put stress, tension, but you know it wasn't that, then you might want to get yourself checked. Employment issues, you can't get a job. Mashallah, you got a degree, PhD, masters, but you can't get a job, you're failing your interviews. There might be some sort of block there. Or you've got a job, 2 months, you get sacked. 3 months, you had a problem with the manager. 6 months, and you're out, you keep changing jobs. Marriage proposals, somebody's young, and either they don't get marriage proposals at all, or they do, but it's always a no, whereas it seems very positive. Yeah, some people do say no. You don't click with everybody. But sometimes when you know that meeting went well, and the guy was really positive, the girl was really positive, but it's always a no, something weird happening there. It could be blocks in getting you married. Illnesses, like I said, certain illnesses, especially when they're unexplained, skin problems, eczema, rashes, boils, these sort of things can be caused by black magic. Anger, a lot of anger, raging anger over small, silly, stupid things. Also, now this one, I always hesitate to say it because I don't like people misconstruing it. Certain sins can be caused by black magic. So for example, a person is a 5 times musalli at your masjid, he's praying salah first stuff, he's regular for the last 20 years, 25 years. Masha'Allah's got a beard, wears sunnah, very smiley, nice chappy guy. Or a sister's wearing hijab, she's very generous, very kind, she attends the halaqah, and etc, etc. All of a sudden, this guy shaves his beard off, the sister takes the hijab off, and they are now seen in clubs and pubs in Manchester. Or they are gambling, or taking alcohol on another level, drugs on another level. So can you see the extreme? That's why I give this example. So they were good practicing Muslims, left it all, they are now in drugs, alcohol, gambling, fornication, etc. And it just doesn't make sense. It happened overnight. Sihr, black magic can do that. I am not saying every druggie, alcoholic, everyone who's clubbing and pubbing out there is got sihr, no. So obviously these things are embarrassing sometimes, so people misuse my words. Say, oh, Malana Sahib the Gad, you know, I take drugs because I've got jinn in me. I'm an alcoholic because I've got jadoo, I've got somebody's nazar in it. So I drink 6 bottles a day. Don't work like that. Another thing is, generally the sin they do, the person has a tendency to do that. Which I was going to explain later, but I'll explain now. When you have black magic on you, there is always jinn attached to it. So there's a whole separate talk I have on jinn in detail. When can you get possessed? How can you get possessed? This talk itself goes over an hour, so I don't mention much. But what I do say is black magic, anybody who has black magic, is done through shaitan and jinn. So they know, how do they know? Through your qareen. Every person has a qareen, yeah, jinn with you. So they communicate with that qareen that, you know, this guy, he loves alcohol. This guy loves gambling. So what they'll do, they'll just escalate that sin that he's gambling and remortgaged his house and sold his car, probably sold his wife and kids and sold everything, and he's just gambling his money. Extreme. Because he didn't have tendencies. No tendency could be playing games on his phone, gambling. Same with the drug addicts, alcoholics, they were already into it, but maybe not on such a high level. So sihr can make you do certain things, and if it doesn't make you do sins, generally as a rule it'll take you away from Islam. So the example I gave, the sister who took her niqab off and hijab off, brother who shaved his beard and completely, you could say, really abandoned Islam. Sihr can do that. Not every case though. There's a lot of people just away from Islam because they don't practice, they don't have knowledge. Back to what I said at the start, don't judge people. The guy was praying first stuff every day, now he doesn't come. Maybe there's something going on. Now there's other forms or types of black magic or sihr, which people call white magic. A bit of what's happening tomorrow as well, Halloween. Magic is magic, haram is haram, and a lot of it is devil worship. They come under different names. So if you watch the news tomorrow or TikTok or what, you'll see witches and magicians. Oh, we're only having a bit of a laugh. We're only going into the woods and doing these rituals. It's sihr. Sihr is sihr. Yeah, these people who read tea leaves and mediums and fortune tellers, it's all, even if it's not sihr as such, it's devil worshipping. That's why you're not allowed to go to a fortune teller. Yeah? That's why you can't read star signs. Where do these people get bits of information? It's from shaitan and jinn. As we know, they listen to the angels. So not even 10%, less than 10% will be true, that you're going to get married in December, and the rest of it will be made up. So what happens on Halloween, and this is why closer towards Halloween, as in the weeks we've just come through, maybe tomorrow as well, a lot of people who suffer from ayn and nazar, jinn issues, possession and black magic, they get worse. There are certain times in the year where people get worse, and these few weeks, I know because people who I have treated a year ago, 6 months ago, their symptoms come back, or they're seen they come back, get really bad, husband and wife arguing. Another thing which happens in October, which is related to black magic, is Diwali happens. They both come at the same time, yeah? We just had Diwali, and then a few days later Halloween comes. Diwali is pagan, shaitani, whatever you want to call it. Obviously it's not Islamic, real religion. And the second thing, why people get worse at this time of the year. So people who are essentially Indian, Pakistani, Bangladesh, a lot of the sihr that's done, the roots of it are from Hinduism. Now some of you from Pakistan or Bangladesh will say, well, we don't have as many Hindus. Obviously India's majority Hindu country, but even those who do jadoo, black magic, the sahirs in Bangladesh, Pakistan and India, their roots, where have they learnt it from? A lot of it's Hinduism. So Hinduism and Diwali and Halloween, Halloween's more to do with this country we live in. Why does it get worse? You got to understand, the concept of shaitan is when shaitan is worshipped more, Iblis, the big one, and he has his little cronies. The big one, when he is worshipped more, he gets more strength. When he's worshipped less, he has less strength. So in these days, all these Hindu rituals you see, and these elephant faces and all these different gods, and like the stuff I've heard they do in India is crazy, next to rivers and whatnot. They think some god's going to come out, some monster and stuff. They do some crazy rituals, which I don't want to mention because there's kids here, but all of that is devil worship. And that's why people in India and people here will get worse, because shaitan gains more strength. The rule with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, if 7 billion people all become Muslim tomorrow, the whole world worships Allah, Allah's strength doesn't increase. Allah is Allah. And on the flip side, if 7 billion people, now Allah says, leave Islam, so we're not going to worship Allah anymore, Allah's strength doesn't decrease. Allah is Allah. He was Allah at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, He's the same Allah now, same strength, and that's why we tell people, go direct to Allah. Honestly, the strength Allah had on the day of Badr to give victory against 1,000 non-Muslims, He can cure you. Allah can give you those babies you want. Allah will get you married. Allah will give you that job. And it's a direct contact. I said it's good to request people for dua. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you didn't ever do that for the rest of your life, and you prayed tahajjud, to me you're very pious Muslim. You're going direct. And that's what led people to shirk. It's the mediums that through requesting Maulana Sahib for dua today or something, then it led to a bit too much. Then we started bowing down to Maulana Sahib, then we started making pictures of Maulana Sahib after he dies, and then we started doing sajda to Maulana Sahib, or Peer Sahib, or whoever Sahib. So always go direct to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, Allah's strength is more than these evil shaitans and jinn. It's something I repeatedly say. When people get scared, we tell them, brother, you got black magic, sister, you got jinn in you. They think my life is over. Who is greater? Is Allah greater or a shaitan, even if it's inside you or possessed? Is black magic greater or is the Quran greater? Especially in Ruqya, because our whole treatment is through Quran. Anything we give, which we'll come on to shortly, is through Quran. So we have to have that belief. That's why Aqidah is so important. Why does Ruqya cure this brother and not this brother? Why does hijama help this brother and not this brother? Why does olive oil help this sister and not this sister? Allah has no weaknesses. The weakness is in our iman. So always remember, and I've seen this through and through. A lot of people come to me, go to other Aqis, they come to test us. I don't mind. I don't mind, come to test me. But really you're testing the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I don't cure. I'm praying Quran. If your belief is not that His Ruqya and the Surah Baqarah and the Manzil is going to cure, and Allah is going to cure us through that, then it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't use it as an MOT test center. It doesn't work like that. And the proof of sihr, the greatest proof, is Bukhari and Muslim, that the Prophet ﷺ, he had sihr on him. Briefly I will mention, it's a long hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, when he had sihr, 6 months minimum, some say a year, some say longer, he didn't know. The Prophet ﷺ didn't know. Why do I mention this point? Because many people, particularly in marriages and otherwise as well, say, well, you know, I've been married 20 years, what do you mean I've got jadoo on me? You may have had it for 20 years, you may have had it for best of half that time, 10 years. The Prophet ﷺ had direct contact with Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam had direct contact with Allah. But he still didn't know for 6 months. Maybe it was a lesson for you and I, that you can get affected with illness, medical issues, ayn and sihr, but you won't know. A man called Labid ibn Asam, it's not confirmed his religion, whether he's a Jewish or Munafiq person, he got hairs of the Prophet ﷺ, and he did sihr on them. This is one of the reasons. There was 11 knots. The Surah Falaq and Surah Nas have 11 verses. Those verses were revealed to treat the jadoo of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the biggest proof. And back to, I don't want to keep repeating it, those people who say, Maulana Sahib, hum to 5 waqt namaz padhte hain, hum to subah mein Yasin padhte hain, Surah Mulk, Surah Waqia, zikr karte hain. You are not greater than the Prophet ﷺ. Quran was revealed to him. He was receiving revelation, and he still had the... that's why I don't give other examples. The reason I don't give example of the Sahaba, that if the Prophet ﷺ himself had it, who are you and I? With barely 10%, 20% iman. Yeah, we're empty batteries. Allah increase our iman, but we are empty batteries. But we've got so much confidence, nothing can touch us. So it's very important that we can understand, it can affect anybody at any time. Some of the pious predecessors who had sihr or were affected by jinn, the teacher of Imam Bukhari, rahmatullah alayh, Imam Yahya ibn Mu'in, rahmatullah alayh, he used to say when he would enter his house, he would feel a presence or he would hear something. The narration says he would pray Ayatul Kursi 5 times, another narration actually says 50 times. He would read, he would read, he would read, until that thing, it's probably a jinn or a shaitan, would say, enough, enough. He'd stop and he'd go away. Fine point I'd like to mention here very quickly is that Ayatul Kursi is mentioned in hadith to protect you from shaitan. But is there any hadith, anybody know a hadith where if you enter your house, pray Ayatul Kursi? Or pray it 5 times? Because numbers sometimes is a problem for people. There's no such hadith. This is the teacher of Imam Bukhari. We can't say he's a deviant. We can't say he was misguided. What's the answer to it then? The foundation and fundamental of Ayatul Kursi is in hadith, isn't it? It's a verse of the Quran, the greatest verse of the Quran, and it's mentioned before sleeping at other occasions that you should pray Ayatul Kursi. So because that foundation is there, if I prayed Ayatul Kursi, let's say before starting today's talk, is that bid'ah? Is that bid'ah? Many people pray Durud Sharif. Many people do istighfar after the talk. The foundations are there, aren't they? So the foundation of Ayatul Kursi was there. Imam Bukhari's Ustad, he had this problem when he entered his house and he got rid of it as well. I said what he needed, and he said, pray Ayatul Kursi before you sleep. After Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ meets Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, says, what happened to your captive? And he says, well, he's embarrassed obviously, his third night. He said, he taught me something though. I only let him have it because he taught me something. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he teach you? He said, if I pray Ayatul Kursi before I sleep, shaitan cannot harm me. The Prophet ﷺ smiled and he said, he's a liar, but he has spoken the truth. He is a liar, but he has spoken the truth, and there was none other than Shaitan, Iblis. So Iblis is giving his own antidote, how to protect yourself from him, that pray Ayatul Kursi. So like I said, it is good to pray Ayatul Kursi, generally throughout the day. From this hadith, ulama deduce that Shaitan can steal. He was stealing, wasn't he? Because he wasn't really poor, he was lying. So from this, and I've seen many incidents where things have been stolen, sometimes petty things like mobile charger, wallet, a bit of change, socks, shoes. When you need it, it causes an argument in the house. Sometimes they put back, sometimes they don't. Okay, to conclude with the treatment plan, then inshallah we'll go through the Q&A. Now with regards to the treatment plan, some people are very negative in going to somebody. Yeah, they have these stereotypes or stories they've heard. So I'm going to quickly mention an answer to those people that every sector, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an imam, a maulana, a counsellor, they have rotten apples. Is there any sector that anybody can name that says, well, you know what, 100% satisfaction guaranteed? We know in this country, doctors have killed people. Yes or no? Yeah? Teachers who have abused children. Yes or no? The police, meant to uphold the law, how many times do they abuse the law? So don't ring 999 when your house gets robbed. You still send your kids to school, don't you? The teachers abuse. You still go to the doctors and GP, they've killed people, killed, dead. Every sector has rotten apples, and in this sector, with Jinn Jadoo, I'll be honest, there's a lot more. A lot more than teachers, doctors and police, simply because this involves shaitan a lot. We are fighting, doing jihad with shaitan, day and night. So in this sector you will get a lot of rotten apples, corrupt people, and I have no hesitation in saying that. So it's very important if you go to somebody for Ruqya, you do background checks, ask somebody who's been. Price is a big issue, someone who's charging 3 or 4 figures, yeah, £500, and they only come for 5 minutes, half an hour, not acceptable. Or sometimes they're not clear. They took £500 and they'll say, yeah, we'll take the jinn out. The guy came for an hour. Better than a solicitor's wage, that £500 an hour. And then he said, it's too difficult. Well, you shouldn't have agreed. So be careful what you agree. There's a lot of corrupt people. People make money in every field now. People make money as imams, as ulama, for bayans, they charge for teaching, they charge rip-off prices. I think everybody knows that. So Ruqya is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Aisha radiallahu anha was told by the Prophet ﷺ, get Ruqya done or do it yourself. Yeah, narrated in Bukhari. Now sometimes with Ruqya it can be high prices, £70 an hour, 80, 90. I'm only explaining, not justifying, because one is the nature of the field. These people put their family at risk, their houses at risk, their own health at risk. Doctor dentist doesn't. Doctor dentist courses at 5 and boom, they're done. They don't, let's be honest. A teacher doesn't, a solicitor doesn't. They don't risk their lives. People who are battling jinn jadoo harm themselves as well. And I can say that from experience. Sometimes they have clinics which they're paying rent for, buildings, etc., room, hence it goes up. But still, don't get ripped off. Self-ruqya is also good, but you should learn it under somebody, still get advice. Don't just read books, because some people who've done self-ruqya have gone crazy. Crazy things have happened. The second method is ta'weez. Now with ta'weez, what I say is, as long as you can read it. There is a hadith that some people quote and misquote, that ta'weez is shirk, all ta'weez is shirk. They don't quote the second hadith, which is Abu Dawood. In Abu Dawood, Ruqya is also shirk. There's a hadith of Prophet Ruqya is shirk. The answer to both ta'weez is shirk and Ruqya is shirk, then why am I saying it's permissible? What type of Ruqya is shirk and ta'weez is shirk? The ones that contain shirky elements, words of jahiliyyah. Yeah? Big scholars like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he has made it permissible to write verses and dip them in water. And there are many scholars from Saudi Arabia who say this is permissible. But you don't get to hear that, do you? If you look on my YouTube channel, there's a whole clip on there about the number of scholars who have said writing verses with saffron or dipping them in verses, which our ulama do, is permissible. That's why I say as long as you can see it. Now those grids, which we call OXO, noughts and crosses, I don't say it's permissible, I don't say it's not permissible. Use it if you know what it is. Why do I say that? Often these have been the cause of the black magic, because nobody knows what it says. If it says shaitan's name and shaitan's pictures, all this is grey area. You got to understand, jadoo comes from somewhere. Where does all this black magic come from? Where do you buy jadoo? eBay? Amazon? It is, a lot of it is through ta'weez, wrong ta'weez. Hence I'm saying ta'weez is permissible, but you got to know what it says. Other things which help is olive oil. It's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Olive oil is generally hated by shaitans and jinn. Hijama helps. Sidr leaves, ajwa 7 in the morning, zamzam, black seed oil, giving sadaqah, Prophet ﷺ, cure your ill people with sadaqah. Hajj and Umrah, going to these blessed places. A lot of istighfar. Istighfar will help. Quick sin, major sin. If you're not talking to your brother, you're not talking to your sister, and sadly you're not talking to your parents, that could be a means of obstacle in your shifa. So major sins. Riba, interest is a big one, mortgages. I know people who've given it up and they got shifa. Find other ways. There are other ways. You don't have to have a mortgage, you can borrow money. Morning, evening adhkar, available online. Hizbul Adam, Mawwadat, Munajat al-Maqbool, these books are very good. Honey is also very good. And manzil. Manzil is something I promote a lot. It's all Quran ayats, a lot of Ruqya verses, 33 verses. There are hadith which support these verses as well. You can find it online. Generally, manzil is good for protection from calamities, accidents, bimari, and these sort of things. Right, we will now come on to the question, insha'Allah. Why does evil eye even exist? Just saying nice voice can cause it, so we have that power and influence. Why should me saying something cause like a sore throat? Okay. Evil eye exists because Allah creates, our belief is Allah created everything. وَالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ مِنَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Allah created it, but there's reasons. Forget evil eye, I'll extend this question. Why does evil exist? Forget evil eye. Evil eye is a part of evil. Why does evil exist? Why does wars exist? Poverty. Why are children dying in Africa? How can Allah see this? It's a test. That's why it exists. Yes. About this, just saying a nice voice, there was an example. Obviously there's levels. That's why I explained between ayn and hasad. So somebody might have a nice voice and you can't stand it because your children can't sing a nasheed. They don't have good voices. No child is blessed with everything. I often, when I teach the madrasa students, I always explain this and say, you can't be good at math, science, English, and PE, and art, and everything. A child usually has 2 3 skills, capability, some more than others. Every child has capability though. So when you hear that nice voice, you can't wish that, I wish my child had it, and why does he have it? That's where it will cause problems. Saying salam and entering masjid loudly, do I have to respond such that he can hear my response? It is good to. Obviously in the masjid, like for example, bayan's going on, salah's going on. You can't enter the masjid and say, Assalamu alaikum, you're disturbing people, you're disturbing salah. Etiquette is important. People are praying salah Quran, say it softly. And you should say it in a way that the person can hear. If I say salam to the brother, his lips don't move, what am I going to think? He's ignorant. Can you self-diagnose if you've been affected? I have marital problems. How can I validate or check if it's black magic? So the symptoms I've mentioned, maybe this question was written before I wrote the symptoms. You can listen to Ruqya or go for hijama and things that can sense. Ideally, go to somebody who's a professional, but you can listen to Ruqya is one way. But the YouTube Ruqya doesn't always work. A lot of people listen to YouTube Ruqya, then they come to me. So, nothing happened when I listen to YouTube, but things happen when I do it. Why? Because there's more strength in my recitation. It's live. How does one safeguard their journey to Allah and piety if there is increase of trials, tribulations, as a black magic? Do we become less pious? You don't become less pious in this day and age. You will have often heard this term, Dajjali Zaman. We are living in times of Dajjal. Dajjal is round the corner, brothers and sisters. We need to up our game. You need to be reading, that example I gave of the Sahaba, and they were told to protect themselves from evil eye. They were already 100% battery. We are not. We have to do more than the Sahaba. So we have to do more adhkar and more Quran, but we are not, and that's why we are suffering. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ said, in morning, a person will be Muslim, evening he'll be kafir. That didn't happen in the time of the Sahaba. They weren't that weak. In this time it's happening. Qiyamah is coming. So yes, the morning, evening adhkar, manzil, regular Quran, dhikr. If you don't know Quran, often people say this to me, men and women, 45, 50 years old, Malana mein Quran nahi janta. Join a class. Join a class, in 6 months you'll know Quran. Quran, for me, I'll be honest with you, people ask me, you do Ruqya, what's your biggest form of shifa and healing as a means? Quran. Whether that's Surah Baqarah, Surah Falaq, Surah Nas. Quran for me is a very big thing, mashallah. Salah obviously is fard anyway, you have to do it. For brothers and the sisters, which masjids accommodate, pray Salah in the masjid. So look, we're coming to winter times. I've already started receiving text messages that from tomorrow, Salah's at work. Is it okay if I do qadha? No, it's not okay. It's not okay. Sisters need to take their makeup off and do wudu at work. That's the problem. Usually it's a wudu problem because we put makeup on. Brothers have got fancy hair gelled up, so they don't want to do wudu. If you're not going to pray salah at work and you can't give that much qurbani and sacrifice, I don't know which Jannah you're asking for. If people are commenting on social media about mental health, then those who expose online should just stop due to being affected by bad comments. Agree or disagree? Okay, they should stop. Those who expose themselves online should also stop and calm down. But then it's a double-edged sword. You also need to stop commenting. So if I put my picture up today of today's bayan and somebody commented negative, is that my fault for putting the picture up? Partially, somebody will say that, but partially you don't need to judge me as well. We live in a very judgmental, and people, what social media has done, it gives you the ability and say what you want, nothing will happen. Because you're sat in England and I'm sat in Australia. Before nobody could do it, people had respect. Please can you narrate a story to us of your most difficult Ruqya case or jinn and its reason? I'll be honest, there is no difficult Ruqya or story, but I'll tell you something. The worst ones is the brother or sister who wasn't practicing. Why? And so jinn possession is the worst. It's like the cancer in medical. Yeah, I'll be honest. So jadoo nazar is there, but jinn possession is the top of the pyramid. So when I had jinn possession with not practicing brothers and sisters, they had no protection. So I'm sat here trying to be pious in Ruqya and doing my adhkar and everything and protection, and then the brother doesn't pray salah, or is an alcoholic, is a druggie, or the sister wears skin tight clothes, perfume. They come to the Ruqya with perfume and makeup, and then I'm trying to batter her jinn. She's got no protection, so jinn batters me. Does that make sense? So those people, and that's not judgmental, that's not me saying you're a bad Muslim. We tell them that look, you've got to start practicing, pray one salah. Alhamdulillah, I'm very lenient. Many people have said one salah, one manzil, one zikr. You've got to start somewhere. And if they don't do that, then I have to stop their treatment. And I don't hesitate that, because I have to look at the masses. I'm getting damaged because of one person, what about the other 99? Leave the person and cure the 99. What to do if you have thoughts such as, why does he have such and such, but I don't. Okay, so I think I've mentioned that as well, that if you do get jealous thoughts, make dua for them, say salam to them, give them gifts, the hadbu, giving gifts creates muhabbat. Is there a trend in people's thoughts and feelings that lead them to go to you? Is there a trend in people's thoughts and feelings that lead them to go to you for ruqya? No. There's no trend. I don't quite understand this question. There's no trend. The people that are affected, they will come. Everybody who rings me is affected. I've never seen a happy chappy on a nice day ring me and say, Mawlana Sahib, I want ruqya. They'll only come when there's problems. How do I identify within myself that I need to go some for ruqya? The symptoms which I mentioned. If I say I want what this person has, is this ayn or ambition? Where is the bottom line? Good question. I think I forgot to say this. The definition of hasad is tamanna zawal ni'matil ghayr, the hope of destroying what somebody has. I usually say this, I think I forgot, so it's good you asked. So when you have this hope that he's got the house in Cheadle and he's got the Bentley, and I say, I hope he has a car crash, I hope your house burns down, that's hasad. That's where you've crossed the line. If you have the Bentley and the house in Cheadle, and I make dua that Allah gives you barakah, and I wish I had a house like that, there's nothing wrong with that. It's the evil thought. If I suspect people have evil eye towards me, is this a form of arrogance? Is this suspicion? Okay. So this, normally I explain when people come to me. I don't explain it in the talks because it can get quite controversial. Obviously there are signs of jealous people, nosy people who ask a lot of questions. Now it doesn't mean every nosy person is jealous and every jealous person is nosy, but it is a sign. So if I keep asking you, brother, what did you do on your holiday? Where did you go? What did you have for takeaway? Your kids having burgers again? Where are you going? And so many questions, that leads to jealousy. Wallahi, I'm not lying or exaggerating. I've heard people who come to me who suspect their neighbours here, and they say, Mawlana, we ordered from Frankie's and they also ordered from Frankie's, and when we ordered from pizza, they ordered from pizza. We're going to holiday to Maldives, they're going to holiday. And that's a bit obvious, isn't it? You're both going for Maldives and you're not like friends. To me that is suspicious and jealousy. So there are certain signs, people who generally nosy and copy everything you do. You got a new washing machine, they've got the same washing machine. There's only one washing machine in the world. Is it that the other living, etc. jinns or around passing through? Is it that the other living, etc. jinns are around or passing through him? Who is it? Alright, there's that. Jinn sometimes, my sensitive behavior can change dramatically for that period of an hour. So a child's behavior is changing. Is it of concern? It could be that the child is affected. It might not be jinn. It might be nazar as well, can cause anger and kids to be rebellious. I would say, yeah, get the boy checked. If there's other things as well, sleep issues, dreams of snakes and dogs, etc. What amal is it that we can return the black magic? Often people ask this, how can you return it? So obviously black magic is deadly, it's poisonous, it's dangerous, it destroys people's lives. What I say, first get shifa yourself, get cured, get better. That will calm your anger down before you go with a sword and a dagger to the person's house. Secondly, when you are better, inshallah, if you want to know or you want to make dua against the person, obviously what we say is make dua that Allah guides them. People end up in these traps with almonds and peas and stuff and end up in this black magic game. So make dua for their guidance. If Allah guides them, He guides them. Recently there was a video of saying magicians saying they could not harm Muslims with their magic. Yeah, I've seen it, the Russian witch. What is your, so that is true. I've already explained this in one of the first, second or third question. The Jali Zaman. So you need to up your adhkar and up your dhikr and up your manzil, and maybe we can't see it, but I will believe that there is a dome or some sort of protection around us. Do you need ruqya for nazar? If you have nazar, you can do what I said, use olive oil, pray manzil, see if it goes away. Listen to ruqya. You don't have to rush to people, but if it's a constant problem, then. Okay, the last card. Does this Raqi need to ask for mom's name? Is that sign of magic? Okay, so people who do ruqya will not ask for your mom's name. They pray Quran and du'as only from Quran and Hadith. People who ask for mom's name, Amins normally ask that. But like I said, if it's a legit Amin, then it's fine. And he's using Quran for Taweez, that's fine. Something mental health issues have similar effects of black magic. How to differentiate? So like I said, it can be a bit of both. A lot of people who come to me especially heavy jadoo and jinn possessed, go through mental health. So we do recommend counselling and other therapies. Dogs, sihr or black magic has to have jinn possession, or it can be done without jinn as well. Or does sihr or black magic have to have jinn possession? Black magic doesn't always mean jinn possession. If it's to what I said, there will be jinn outside, in the house, in the bedroom, following you at work, following you to the masjid. But that's why I explain it, because people always say jinn means possession. No. Everyone who has black magic has jinn. What gives you the anger, the rage, makes you break things, causes fertility issues? It's the jinn outside you. There is something called partial possession. They can come in and out. Like they only come in when we do Ruqya or something. Final question, difference between black magic and evil eye. I think I've explained that. So there's a big difference in terms of ayn. Evil eye doesn't always have jinns and shaitan involved. It can be evil thoughts. And I think that brings us to the end of the program. Jazakallah khairan to Maulana Sahab and Brother Abdul Razik as well for arranging this program. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a means of shifa. Anyone who's going through anything, keep making dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. Ameen. Subhanallah.
Just like to, got a few announcements inshallah. Just like to say Jazakallah khairan to Sheikh Mufti Sahab for coming down from Blackburn, spending time with us. It's been a lengthy discussion, a very important discussion as well, a very important topic that affects a lot of us in our community. We ask Allah subhanahu